In the frozen skies of World War II, machines of steel and fire rose to meet impossible odds. From swift hunters to thunderous attackers, these aircraft shaped a vast eastern front, where even the air seemed to tremble with war. Soviet frontline fighters, Polikarpov I-15, small, biplane-winged and quick to leap into the air, it danced through early war dogfights with surprising agility. It fought fiercely in 1941 as one of the last biplanes still defending Soviet skies. Outclassed but stubborn, it became a symbol of how the war began in the air. Polikarpov I-153 Chaika, with its goal-shaped wings and tight turning circle, it twisted through combat like a startled bird. Soviet pilots used it for low-level defense and quick interception in the chaotic opening months. Its speed was outdated, but its maneuverability kept it deadly at close range. Polikarpov I-16, compact, fast and radically modern for its time. This little monoplane flashed across the front like a steel dart. It guarded Leningrad, Moscow, and countless retreating columns during the hardest early battles. Though aging, its toughness allowed it to hang on until newer fighters arrived. MiG-1, long-nosed and narrow-winged, it was designed for altitude and speed rather than tight dogfights. It patrolled the upper airspace early in the war, though few were available. Challenging to fly, it served mainly as a stepping stone to something better. MiG-3, fast and streamlined, it excelled in the thin air above most battles. Soviet units used it for high-altitude interception and reconnaissance during the desperate 1941-42 fighting. At lower levels it struggled, but in the heights it became a sharp-edged guardian. Hawker Hurricane, Lend-Lease. Broad-winged and stable, it brought a British silhouette to Soviet airstrips. It protected convoys, cities, and ground troops when Soviet fighter numbers were critically low. Though slower than later designs, it offered reliability when it mattered most. Soviet ground attack aircraft Sukhoi Su-2 small, clean-lined and quietly capable, it carried bombs beneath its wings as it skimmed over front lines. Early in the war it flew reconnaissance, light bombing and harassment missions under intense pressure. Its versatility kept it valuable, even as losses mounted in the chaos of 1941-42. Sukhoi Su-6, prototype combat-tested. Streamlined and powerful, it emerged as a potential rival to the Il-2 with impressive low-level performance. Though never mass-produced, a handful were tested in frontline conditions during the war. Its strong showing highlighted what might have been a major Soviet assault aircraft had production shifted. Petlyakov, Pei-2, used in assault role, fast, twin-engined and sharp-nosed. It dived like a falling spear when used in ground attack missions. Although primarily a bomber, it often shifted into low-level assault work where air cover was thin. Its speed and precision made it a flexible tool when frontline demands changed suddenly. Polikarpov R-5, ground attack conversions. Angular and old-fashioned, this earlier biplane lingered on as a rugged improvised attacker. It flew night harassment, close support, and low-risk bombing runs in the opening months of the war. Slow but persistent, it proved that even outdated machines could still cause disruption. Tupolev SB, used as light attacker in 1941-42. Slim and twin-engined, it raced over targets with a speed that once impressed pre-war observers. In the desperate early stages, it served as a fast, low-level attacker, despite heavy losses. Its declining survivability showed how quickly technology shifted once the conflict escalated. Soviet tactical and strategic bombers. Petlyakov, Pei-2 sharp-nosed and agile, this twin-engined dive bomber carved through the sky with the precision of a falling blade. It became one of the Red Air Force's most widespread bombers, striking rail lines, troop columns, and fortified positions across the front. Fast, adaptable, and dependable, it formed the backbone of Soviet tactical bombing. Petlyakov, Pei-3 stretched, armed, and streamlined, it carried the look of a Pei-2 reshaped for long-range strikes. It flew reconnaissance, night bomber, and escort missions over vast Soviet battlefields. Its range and versatility made it a valuable tool when deeper targets demanded attention. Tupolev SB clean-winged, and once considered fast for its era, it flashed across early war skies with determined purpose. It bombed bridges, columns, and airfields during the desperate summer of 1941. Age caught up quickly, but its early service bought time when the front was collapsing. Tupolev R-2, built from the SB but refined for steep diving attacks, it plunged toward targets with new aggression. Soviet units used it in limited numbers during the war's early stages for precision strikes. Its improvements were clear, but wartime disruption ended its chance at wider production. Tupolev Tu-2, broad-winged, powerful and fast. It arrived as a modern twin-engined bomber, ready for deep tactical blows. Once production stabilized, it supported major Soviet offensives from 1943 onward. Strong payload, high speed, and excellent handling made it one of the USSR's finest wartime bombers. Ilyushin Il-2 sleek and long-ranged, it pushed far into enemy territory with quiet determination. It flew early war raids on supply centers, troop concentrations, and strategic positions. Its endurance set the stage for an improved successor, Ilyushin Il-4, an evolution of the DB3. It stretched its wings across long distances with a steady, reliable presence. It carried out deep penetrations, night raids, and even anti-shipping missions in the Arctic and Baltic. Strong range and adaptability kept it in frontline service throughout the entire conflict. Soviet reconnaissance and liaison aircraft. Polikarpov Tu-2, reconnaissance and liaison use. Light as a whisper and slow enough to skim tree lines, it floated through the air with effortless calm. Recon units used it to slip over enemy lines, carry messages, guide artillery, and watch troop movements. Its simplicity and low-speed grace made it a quiet but indispensable pair of eyes in the sky. Polikarpov R-5 angular and old-fashioned, this biplane still glided into missions with the stubborn persistence of an earlier era. It scouted frontline movements, delivered supplies, and performed liaison duties when modern aircraft were scarce. Though outdated, its reliability ensured it remained active in the war's most chaotic moments. Polikarpov RZ Natasha, streamlined for its time yet unmistakably biplane in spirit, it carried cameras and observers through dangerous airspace. It watched enemy concentrations and photographed key positions during the early stages of the conflict. Limited survivability pushed it out quickly, but not before it helped map the opening battles. Tupolev R10 Kai-5, smooth, enclosed and clean-lined, it appeared as a sleek step forward from aging reconnaissance biplanes. It flew scouting and light bombing missions during the first year of the war. Its speed was decent, but rapid enemy advances swept many from the sky. Yakovlev Yak-3, recon variant, long-nosed and narrow-bodied, it carried cameras instead of heavy weapons as it darted across the front. Units used it in 1941 to probe enemy movements and relay vital information to ground commanders. Fast but fragile, it performed well when handled carefully. Yakovlev Yak-4, compact, twin-engined and swift, it moved through contested airspace with quiet urgency. It photographed rail hubs, river crossings and supply routes during the war's early campaigns. Its limited numbers kept it rare, but its speed allowed it to slip away from danger. Soviet transport and utility aircraft. Ilyushin Il-2, broad-winged and rugged, it carried the familiar shape of the DC-3, but reshaped with Soviet character and winter-ready toughness. It hauled troops, supplies, paratroopers and medical evacuations across every front from the Arctic to the Caucasus. Reliable in bitter cold and rough fields, it became the Soviet Union's lifeline in the air. Polikarpov Tu-2, transport and liaison use. Light, wooden and whisper-soft, it slipped in and out of tiny clearings where larger aircraft dared not land. It carried messages, wounded soldiers, officers, ammunition, and anything small enough to strap into its modest frame. Its gentle handling made it the quiet courier that kept scattered units connected. Shek-2-2, Shabakov Shek-2, boxy, twin-engined, and unusually simple, it was born from wartime shortages, yet lifted impressive loads for its size. It ran supply flights, medical evacuations, and short-range transport missions throughout the mid-war years. Its wooden construction made it cheap and repairable, turning scarcity into strength. Tupolev TB3, transport role, massive, four-engined and almost prehistoric in appearance, it lumbered across the sky like a flying fortress from another era. Despite being obsolete as a bomber, it moved paratroopers, vehicles and oversized cargo during the early stages of the war. Its sheer volume made it a valuable heavy hauler when no replacement yet existed. Kalinin K5, limited wartime transport use, rounded, high-winged and designed before the war, it found new life as a simple rear-area transport. It carried personnel and urgent cargo during the desperate months of 1941. Old but dependable, it helped bridge a shortage of modern transports. Yakovlev UT2, liaison and utility use. Tiny, smooth and nimble, it hopped between regiments with messages and lightweight cargo. Some units used it for liaison, training, and local courier flights far behind the front. Its simplicity allowed it to serve multiple roles, even when resources were stretched thin. Soviet naval and floatplane aircraft, Beriev MBR-2, high-winged and boat-hulled. It skimmed across waves before lifting into grey northern skies. It patrolled Soviet coastlines, searched for submarines, and scouted vast stretches of the Arctic and Baltic. Slow but unwavering, it became the quiet workhorse of Soviet maritime aviation. Beriev Bay-4, KOR-2, compact, catapult-launched, and agile for its size, it rose from cruisers and seaplane tenders like a watchful bird. It performed reconnaissance, artillery spotting, and sea search missions wherever the Soviet Navy ventured. Its ability to operate from ships gave Soviet fleets vital eyes over distant waters. Chayet Verikov, MDR-6, Che-2, long-winged, sleek, and shaped for ocean endurance, it carried a presence unlike most Soviet aircraft. It flew maritime patrols, anti-submarine sweeps, and reconnaissance missions across the Arctic and Black Sea. Its range and stability made it a valuable deep-water sentinel. Chertoverikov Yak-3, limited operational use, shiny, narrow, and elegant for a flying boat. It represented an ambitious attempt at higher-speed seaplane performance. A handful were tested and used on maritime patrol routes early in the war. Rare but real, it demonstrated the Soviet search for modern naval aviation solutions. Ilyushin Il-2 naval torpedo bomber use. Slim and long-ranged, it carried torpedoes beneath its wings as it cruised over dark, cold seas. It attacked Axis shipping in the Baltic and Arctic, often in low, tense approaches through hostile fire. Its endurance turned it into one of the Soviet Union's most important maritime strike aircraft. In the vast sweep of ice, forest, ocean, and battlefield, these aircraft formed the Soviet Union's airborne shield. Slow scouts, roaring bombers, silent floatplanes, and armored attackers working as one. Each played its part in the brutal contest for air and sea, and together they left behind an aerial legacy that still echoes across the long, cold horizons they once guarded.